Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very large winter storm that could be occurring into the early part of next week. Now, if you recall in yesterday's video, for those that watched it, I was talking about two snowstorms or winter storms. I'm still going to talk about the first one, but it's really going to be mainly impacting just one region, and that's the North Central United States. So when I'm going to be covering the North Central United States for this upcoming big one, I'll also just include that one. It is going to be smaller, but there still could be accumulations across areas that reach into potentially the double digits. So two storms, but for the sake of the title, I will call it one, because most other regions like the Northwest, Southwest, even the Central United States, the South Central, the Southeast, Northeast will be impacted by this one storm. And this one is concerning. I don't usually, I know I say this often, there's always something that's concerning about a storm, but in this case, the biggest threat that we're seeing so far is obviously the snow, the heavy amounts of it, the rain, but also looking at the Storm Prediction Center, it's something we don't really like to see. Okay, so notice they have, if you're not familiar with this, they predict basically here severe weather. So basically, severe weather is hard to predict. So when this website, the Storm Prediction Center, issues a severe, at least a slight, this many days out, I mean, it's Tuesday, and they're issuing this for next Monday, yeah, things are probably not looking too good. And looking at this system, hopefully, this isn't accurate, but the severe weather threat from this storm could be pretty intense across a good portion of the south. So yes, this one it's a loaded, classic monster winter storm. I mean, like the stereotypical one that usually is talked about, breaks headlines, at least in some aspects. Okay, without further ado, let's start breaking this up into into regions, and let me start off by looking at the Northwestern United States. So for the Northwest, let's go and zoom in onto it. I'll show you two different models for this big system. I wanted to click on the Northwest, not just the Central. Okay, so I will show you the GFS and the European. When I'm going to be showing you the GFS, I'll be using the region, right? And when I show you the European on the other website, I'll be just showing you the entire United States, because this divides it into three different regions, that website. Okay, without further ado, right now, there is some activity, especially across Montana. There's some very cold air that's moving in, a little bit of moisture on the south side of that high pressure, so that's producing a little bit of that snow as we're seeing across Montana and into portions of Idaho and Wyoming. There are even some blizzard warnings currently issued. This is pretty much going to be out of here by this upcoming Wednesday and Thursday, and you may be thinking, okay, look at all that green coming in off the Pacific Ocean. That is definitely our big storm. That is definitely our big system. And in fact, it's not. This is just going to be kind of a precursor. It will drop quite a bit of precipitation, especially along the coastlines. Notice Oregon, California, Washington, you're into southwestern Canada as well, maybe Vancouver even picking up on some snow, as there will be a lot of cold air with this. So there's a lot of cold air situated here, and Vancouver actually already did see some snow. You can see the temperatures are chilly, so that's definitely a possibility. Moving back though, notice a lot of this does not make its way into the inland areas like Wyoming, Montana. It pretty much stops at Idaho. There could be still some snow that reaches, say, the Grand Tetons, but this first wave pretty much peters out pretty quickly. Now, by Saturday, so if you're wondering, this big system, the big one, it's going to be moving into the Northwest by early Saturday, late Friday. Right on the heels of this first waves, it's probably going to honestly congeal into one. It's not even going to, if you look outside the window in Oregon, it's going to be snowing through Friday. And again, Oregon, I meant like Central Oregon, not a specific place. And then just a few hours later into Saturday, you can see this thing's massive. It's 990 millibars, so it's a lot stronger, a lot more slower moving. Look at all that moisture it's pumping into Northern California, Nevada, and again, Oregon, Washington, Idaho. This one, unlike the first one, splits off, and you can see meanders further towards the south. So for the Northwest viewing people, this is a bit kind of out of that viewing range area, but it still makes kind of a little swing around, and that makes a lot of snow come around into Wyoming and Montana, and then it develops further off. And by the way, following this system, it looks as if there will be a lot of cold air and more activity in the form of, well, storms. So let's show you the total snowfall accumulations on this. And again, this is pretty far out. You can see that the system is done by next Wednesday, but you know, so many days out, I usually don't like trying to make such titles, you know, with such confidence. But the thing is that the models are in such good agreement on it that they give us a lot of confidence for this. And if you look at the total accumulated precip, it's quite significant. Obviously, not all of this falls from that system that I'm kind of mainly focusing on. There will be that, again, first wave on Thursday that drops a little bit of showers and some light snowfall and some rain. In fact, actually, along the coast, it may not even be light. It could be pretty substantial. Total snowfall, even more impressive, especially for the mountainous areas near the northwest, near the coast, and you could see that many areas picking up a lot of snow. So that's what the GFS shows. Now let me quickly show you what the European shows for the northwest. And you can see that it shows, again, that first wave on Thursday. So, again, pretty good confidence agreement with the GFS. And then that second one, which you can see that European brings in a stronger storm. It's at 980 millibars, not 991, which the GFS showed. And there's more precipitation across, say, Washington, Oregon, into Idaho. And, yeah, it's a bit of a stronger system, though it does the same thing, kind of meanders towards the south and west, and then does that swing around, which brings more snow into Wyoming and Montana later on, potentially Monday and into Tuesday. So, pretty much Thursday through next Tuesday looks very active for the northwest, but that big system moves in Saturday, and then Saturday through Tuesday and Wednesday is basically when it's impacting the northwest before it moves off further into the north central United States. Let me now move on into the southwestern United States and talk about that region. So for the northwest, we are mainly done talking here. All right, so the southwest, let's start off by looking at the GFS. I'll then show you the European model. Notice right now there is some activity going on. It's nothing too incredible, though there will be some snow that falls, especially across southern Utah and the Colorado Rockies. This thing is going to be that storm, I guess, energy that develops into that first smaller winter storm that I was talking about across the north central United States. Notice there could be some 3 to 6, maybe even up to a foot of snow, especially across the highest peaks on the mountains. But elsewhere, nothing too incredible. You can see Denver really not even going to pick up any precipitation from this. However, notice across California on Thursday, we see a kind of that first wave move in. This isn't still that storm that I'm talking about, and I'm not really calling it a storm, an individual system, because it pretty much falls apart as it hits the mountains. And notice across the Sierra Nevada, the Trinity Mountains right there, especially across the north, a lot of snow. So again, easily a foot and a half right there, especially across the northern Sierras. But do note that this does bring some precipitation into Nevada and into Utah, but again, nothing results of it much. So that is on Thursday and into Friday. So by late Friday, this thing's done and out of here pretty much. And what we do see is not really a break, and we see that big system on the heels of this. Again, GFS keeps this system a bit weaker compared to the European, but look at all that moisture, especially California. Just incredible rain, incredible snow for the Sierra. This thing is a big monster. That's, you know, and the models have incredible confidence on this, meaning that they almost all show the same scenario. The GFS, Canadian, and European model. And notice that this thing is a prolonged event. We see the initial push, right? A lot of that disintegrates, but then we see a separate low pressure starting to form, continues pumping a lot of snow, clear, defined snow and rain across the southwest. It doesn't disintegrate, it strengthens, and this brings snow into Nevada, Utah, Arizona. And again, here's that timing. You can see December 12th, 6 a.m. So this is Monday. This is into Tuesday. The timing may be off still by roughly 6 to 12 hours, right? It's still a little bit away, though, again, generally speaking, if you're planning on traveling from Saturday across the southwest through Tuesday, expect some travel delays, especially across California and the coastal areas. But even Nevada, as you saw, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, getting in on all that action before it moves off into the plains on Wednesday. So that is that. There will be a little bit of cold air that is left in the wake of this, so that's also something notable. But new systems are going to be coming in, so the cold air won't be too sustained. Let's take a look at some of this total snowfall. Get ready for this. Some of these amounts are pretty legendary. Again, some of this will be falling from that first wave. In fact, I could actually show you. So there's that first wave snowfall, the one that I'm kind of, the one that's going to be occurring on Thursday. Again, up to a foot of snow is definitely a possibility, but I mean, this new one brings just potentially ridiculous amounts, up to, I mean, 5-6 feet of snow is not out of the question across the Sierra. And the interesting thing is that across some of the west here, I have the Sierra Nevada pulled up here. You're already seeing snowpack that is well above average. You can see that this is the normal for this date, and you can see it's 165, 160, and 200 for the southern Sierra. So expect those percentages to go up. That's a good thing. They need that snow, and that pattern looks pretty active later on, continuing past even that big one. Notice the European now I want to show you for the southwestern regions also shows a big system moving in. It's actually even stronger than what the GFS shows. Again, similar timing. There's that first wave on Thursday. European keeps it a bit weaker than the GFS does, but regardless, it keeps that second one a lot stronger, a lot more moisture. You can see 980 millibars. I shouldn't say a lot more moisture because, I mean, the GFS shows 60 inches in some areas, 70. The European probably shows 70 to 80. So the difference is pretty minimal, especially at, once you reach such incredible amounts. But yeah, it's pretty confident. I'm pretty confident. The models are pretty confident. You can see that the agreement between the European and GFS is pretty remarkable. There's almost no difference. And then you can see there's that system. It intensifies, develops. Maybe a bit less activity for the Southwest according to the European. Meaning Southwest, meaning maybe southern Nevada, northern Arizona. Still some precipitation and snowfall for those areas. These mountains, unlike the Sierra, don't have a lot of snowpack, so they need that snow across Arizona and New Mexico. And then you can see that moves off and develops into a beast across the north central plains. The European, just like the GFS, shows a lot of precipitation with the combination of that first wave and that second one again. Many areas here picking up over 5-6 inches of rainfall, and I mean the rain would be actually falling as snow for the Sierra, but still for the lower elevation, significant rain. And you can see some of these snowfall amounts are again well into the range of 60-70 inches, and that's assuming a 10-to-1 ratio, so a heavier, wetter snow. And yeah, it's a very widespread system. All right, let's move on now and show you the north central United States. This region is going to be a bit chaotic, so I'm going to do my best here. And the reason for this is because we have two systems in a short amount of time. So let me play this. For the next few days, really not much activity. We did have a little bit of rain, snow. You can see across maybe Minnesota and North Dakota and northern Wisconsin, a bit of snow into Wednesday and Thursday. That moves out. We see some moderation in temperatures, especially across the southern areas, because we see that slug of moisture from the south moving in. Quite some heavy rain, especially you can see across southern Missouri potentially. We do see some snow though. And if you recall, yesterday I was still kind of like the European GFS, they have different outcomes. It seems that the European has trended towards what the GFS is showing. And yesterday I did say I was leaning more into the European model, so I was wrong about that. And the GFS model seems to have the better handle on it. However, it did pick up some characteristics from the European. As you can see, it's a more snowier scenario. It's just that it dies off a bit quicker. However, you can see that snow for the time frame that it is occurring across northern Iowa and southern Minnesota, 6 a.m. at Friday. So again, this is going to be late Thursday, early Friday type thing for a lot of these areas. Is going to be falling very, very heavily. So the amounts, even in that short amount of time for the snowfall, are going to be still pretty impressive. I would say 6 inches is definitely not out of the possibility. And if we do see a good fetch of moisture turn into snow, maybe a foot of snow in some very localized amounts. So again, that'll be kind of hard to get. But again, whether or not this creeps into the Minneapolis area, we'll have to see. For now, it's targeting southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, northern Nebraska, and southeastern South Dakota. In terms of total accumulated precipitation, you can see the rainfall footprint is obviously a bit more broad, including where that snow falls. Some of it will be very heavy, so we could see quite a bit of, quite a bit of precipitation from that snowfall once it melts. Now, moving forward, let's talk about that big system, that second one, because this is definitely the bigger news story. Again, Saturday, there could be some snow across Minnesota, the arrowhead of Minnesota into Wisconsin. That's smaller. That's not the big system. What we do see is warm temperatures come in as we see that to southerly flow. However, you can see there's a lot of cold air from the north. And so again, through Tuesday, not really much going on, excluding that Thursday, Friday system. But by Tuesday, late Monday to Tuesday, we see a precipitation explode in terms of the moisture that comes from the Gulf of Mexico. All that rain, you can see not really heavy at first, but then it really starts potentially showing some even severe thunderstorms as far north as Iowa, Illinois, and if not severe, then just strong. We see a very strong snowy side to this across the Dakotas and into the Nebraska Panhandle. And the thing is, and I'm pretty confident about this track because, as I'll show you, the European remarkably similar to the GFS, and that's definitely something that helps us, gives us a lot more confidence. And look, with such strong strong winds as what the GFS is showing, those tight millibars or isobars, you could expect that there could be some good possibility for potentially a blizzard across those areas. And again, very heavy snowfall rates, a strong 986 millibars. Again, for the storm strength itself, the winds are going to be way stronger because of the high pressure that's pushing in and budging in on this. But look at some of this rainfall here. Some pretty intense storms could be occurring, and this thing finally pulls away by next Thursday. The peak intensity of this thing, kind of the peak, I guess, occurrence will be most likely late Tuesday into Wednesday as the cold front strong, the blizzard is raging, and then we do see some of that cold air obviously move in. So given those heavy rates that you saw, obviously the snowfall would be extremely impressive. I would not be surprised to see over a foot widespread. Again, it shows 30 inches here. That's a bit probably high, and we'll have to see whether or not that holds true as we get closer into the forecast, but it's definitely a possibility. Now notice total accumulated precip, so this includes rainfall as well as snowfall to the south. You have a lot of rain that occurs, and that could definitely be something that we will have to watch for. Maybe not just the rain, but the severe weather that comes with that rain. So now, as I go towards the European model, since I want to show you this one as well, since we're at the snowfall, notice the European doesn't show any 30-inch amounts across the northern plains, but it shows widespread amounts of a foot and a half, and I think this is still very significant and maybe more reasonable. But again, the European hasn't been really as accurate as a GFS the past few days, quite frankly, so that is definitely something to note. Total rainfall, you can see, also very significant, and the thing, more importantly, is the placement of that snow is very similar to the GFS, and I want to show you the precip type, so how this plays out. So again, the North Central United States, again, there's that first system. You can see European and GFS now in a lot more agreement, which is why I just showed you the GFS, and do note then that by Tuesday, again, similar timing towards what the GFS is showing, that system explodes, and again, for how far out it is, the models have a lot of, it's almost identical track to what the GFS shows here. The European, some differences, but nothing too significant. That is very good. This is exactly what we like to see, and it gives us a lot of, confidence. Now let's move on into a different area of the United States, and for the folks that live across the South Central United States, let's start talking about you, because there could be a lot of activity here from this storm system, even the first one that's going to be occurring on, again, Wednesday into Thursday of this week. So in the next few days, relatively calm. There will be some increasing southerly flow, though, and you can see that by late Wednesday into early Thursday, we do have some pretty heavy rain that could be spreading across Missouri into Oklahoma, so that is definitely something to watch for. Notice, though, it moves out of here pretty quickly, and by Friday, we are relatively calm. So again, the GFS and European in really good agreement on that system, so I'll be showing you just the GFS for this first one. Notice the total snowfall, pretty much nothing, right? It will be mainly a rain event, and the total rainfall, you can see, especially where that little cold front sets up, kind of a little bit of banding. There could be definitely a swath of an inch to 2 inches, maybe even 2.5 inches, especially if there are some embedded thunderstorms. All right, so the weekend looks wonderful for the Southwest, at least for the good part of it. You could see maybe some showers on Saturday, though Sunday returning pretty calm conditions, excluding some showery and cloudy weather towards the south there across Arkansas and Mississippi. However, as we push towards Monday and into especially Tuesday, because you could see that on Monday, all we see is strong strengthening winds. We see an inflow of quite a bit of snowfall across the west, but still nothing too strong. But by late Monday and Tuesday, you can see a lot of this showery weather. Now we have that system quickly intensifying as it moves off into the plains. So we see snow obviously across Nebraska, right? So that's going to be the state that's going to be really impacted by that. But that's kind of straddling the north central south central United States there. But what's more concerningly, especially for the eastern areas of this weather here, of this region, is this cold front that finally materializes once the system blows up. So for you, it's mainly going to be a rain event, right? And I'm not really concerned about anything till late Tuesday. Notice that Tuesday night, overnight into Wednesday. So again, this could be a nocturnal event, which makes this even worse. Look at that flare up. That is very concerning. The Storm Prediction Center, again, already has a slight issued for Tuesday. So that's many days out, but it already has that issued. It's very concerning, to say the least. And it probably will be a multi-day severe weather event stretching all the way into Illinois. You could see Indiana. So just goes to show you how much the kind of, I guess, supportive dynamics are for this. And notice that on during the day Wednesday, this spreads into Mississippi, into Alabama, Tennessee. So that's definitely the biggest concern. And again, this is still a little bit out. So if you are in this area, please do make preparations, because this does not look like if it's going to be coming out or changing. Because looking at the European, which I want to show you now, again, your region right here, notice there's that first one, but more importantly, that second one, there's very few changes. The track is almost identical as it passes through the western United States and develops that cold front. And you can see that it's across very similar areas, and that intensity of it is definitely something that's concerning. And you can see that the European agrees with the GFS, and it's very far out. And you can see that maybe even for a while there's stalls out. So yeah, a concerning event. This is one area that, the blizzard is obviously concerning with its impacts, but usually, the northerners are fine with blizzards and whatnot. They're used to it. And you could argue the same thing with folks across the south with severe weather, right? But when you have a tornado that's barreling at you with 200-mile-per-hour winds, yeah, there's only so much you can do other than take shelter and hope for the best. So, you can't really get used to those type of events. Maybe, in frequency, but once it actually hits you, yeah, you can't just stop it with your bare hands. So notice that, now let's move on to the Northeast, because, I'm running out of time here, and I want to wrap this up in a decent amount of time. So let's start off with the GFS. Again, Wednesday, Thursday for the Northeast look very soggy, very rainy. It's one of the few areas in the United States that's going to have a lot of activity prior to the system. However, once that system passes, notice that maybe only the southern areas are a little bit wet for Thursday and Friday from that that first storm that I described yesterday. But its main impacts are going to be, again, left towards the Midwest there. And notice the northern areas never really get in on any of that rainfall or snowfall. Maybe a few areas in Pennsylvania could pick up a little bit of snow, especially across central Pennsylvania. However, again, that seems also a bit questionable. So notice that as I put this forward, most of the weekend remains relatively dry. There could be a few instances of spotty showers, spotty snow showers, but nothing too incredible, and compared to what this system will bring next week, really nothing too intense. So notice we do have obviously some rain forming towards the western areas of this viewing range by Tuesday, and then we see that system move in. So first, it's just a lot of warm air and strong winds. We do see a little bit of showery weather, but notice that this very strong cold front that the GFS shows, and has that concerning severe weather aspect side to it, does stretch its way into the Northeast eventually. Maybe not as severe as towards the south, but still heavy rainfall, some scattered showers, storms. This is still pretty far out, a week out. So again, a lot of changes. But the thing is that I'll show you in just a second, the European and GFS have a lot of agreement on this, and there's also some signs that there could be some secondary development of a different system from the cold front of that first big one. So yeah, a lot of chaos from this second one, but even out ahead of it's on Wednesday, Thursday, you could pick up a lot of rain. So Northeast active overall, especially next week starting Tuesday and into Friday, maybe even beyond. And you can see that rainfall really shows that. Good news is for the folks that don't want impactful weather or just don't like snow, it will be mainly rain, some snow across southern Canada and this Northeast, but again, mainly just pretty good amounts of rainfall. And again, just to show you that the European agrees with the GFS and why I have such high confidence this many days out, I want to show you this. So again, the Northeast, again, few little events there, few little clippers. Maybe on Monday we see some light scattered snow across Pennsylvania, upstate New York. Really nothing too significant. Most of the precip stays offshore. And you can see that with that big system obviously unfolding across the north central United States, that precipitation eventually reaches the Northeast, and you can see it stalls out there, slows down, and it's really impressive. So the European pretty much agrees with the GFS and even shows potentially a strengthening cold front there. So yeah, pretty incredible agreement amongst the models. Now let's move on to the Southeast, the last region I want to talk about, but I obviously still want to talk about it because this is probably the area that, along with the South Central United States, I'm the most concerned about, and I'm going to tell you why. So the next few days, nothing concerning. A bit of showers, a bit of thunderstorms. Even as we go into Thursday and Friday, a little bit of rain. Biggest nuisance, just some rain and cloudy weather and some warm temperatures. So the weekend also not bad, showery. You can see Saturday, another little event there, but nothing too incredible. The biggest threat occurs on starting I guess Tuesday for the western areas here. So notice on late Monday into Tuesday we do see obviously some storms. Some will be severe out ahead of this warm cold front, kind of in the warm front section of the system. But by Wednesday we see a really strong cold front develop, and you can see Tennessee, Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi getting in on this, and then this thing intensifies overnight into Wednesday. Really, again, powerful, and the European pretty much agrees with the GFS on this, and this thing could not be just one of those one-day thing. It could be a multi-day event. You can see all the way through the Carolinas some pretty incredible thunderstorms. Obviously, behind this there will be cold air, which is also the next kind of news story behind that. But that will seem like nothing after you get these incredible thunderstorms. And yes, I believe that there could be some ridiculous rainfall amounts from this cold front, especially if the European scenario comes true, because the European model is showing some more, if you will, stalled out cold front characteristics. It's a slower moving system according to the European, and yeah, obviously severe thunderstorms is a concern, but anytime you have a powerful thunderstorm, it could drop 1 to 2 inches from, in 30 minutes, and if you have several of those occurring over the same area, you could definitely get areas that get 6 inches plus, and it does seem that GFS is hinting at that with some of those almost red colors. Just to show you, the European, again, so nothing too incredible to be focused on the next few days. Some showery weather, some thunderstorms, but on Tuesday is when that event is going to be very massive and very concerning. Notice, again, late Tuesday, Wednesday, we start seeing this cold front move into Arkansas, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, and again, like the European, or like I was saying, the European shows this thing slowing down, reforming as the system slows down here. The dynamics across the south aren't going to be any less vigorous, and you can see this thing continues a powerful journey, a powerful cold front well through the Carolinas, and you can see even intensifying as it plows off the northeast coast. So the European potentially showing an even worse scenario, with again some of these rainfall amounts really being impressive, especially with the rains that you've been already seeing and you will in the next few days. Global models aren't usually good for predicting these isolated pockets, but with they are showing 6-7 inches plus, you could bet that that's going to happen at least in some areas. So that is definitely something I'm concerned about for the southwest or southeast. And notice the amount of agreement that the European and GFS have. And just to show you, to make this even more convincing for you, I have the Canadian, which usually is kind of the third model I use. It's not as accurate as the GFS or the European, but it's still a decent one. So it shows really similar characteristics going into the next few days. Those showers, right, Saturday, Sunday, even, the next few days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. But then again, on Tuesday, Wednesday, it shows that cold front. You can see it's definitely there. Maybe not as powerful as what the GFS and European show, but it shows a system. It takes a very similar track. And again, the Storm Prediction Center is already showing a severe risk on Monday, which is day 7. On day 8, it looks even worse, quite frankly. So yeah, not too good of a scenario. Definitely probably a moderate, if not a high, will be issued. I'm saying that right now. So take the necessary precautions. All right, as an overview, let's quickly go back here and show you the entire United States. Again, I just want to show you the entire scope of this system. It's going to be massive, absolutely massive, and there's no way of hiding that. And you can see that as I show you this, there's that first one, which again looks tiny, but it could still deliver quite a bit of snow for the north central United States. And then there's that massive one moving in, again, very slow and continues. I mean, it's massive. Look at its peak shape right there, stretching from all the way where the polar bears live all the way into the New Mexico Gulf, right, the Gulf of New Mexico. And then again, the pattern looks active afterwards. You can see some other storms and other models like the European, especially its ensembles, show potentially pretty large systems following that. This is a pretty calm version of the GFS following this big system. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. Stay safe, stay tuned. I will keep you obviously updated, but a lot of activity looks likely in the long range, and obviously this big system is our first priority. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. See ya. Bye.